Come with me. Let us journey back in time. We travel not across continents, but through centuries. Our destination is a land of rugged mountains and fertile plains, a place where history is written not just in books, but in the very stones of ancient fortresses. This is the story of Bulgaria, a saga of fierce warriors, wise rulers, and brilliant scholars. It is a tale of empires that rose from dust to challenge the greatest powers of their age. They shone with a brilliance that illuminated the whole of Europe. Their story is one of courage, ambition, and an unbreakable spirit that refused to be extinguished, even in the darkest of times. Our story begins in the 7th century. A formidable group of people known as the Bulgars were on the move. They were skilled horsemen originally from the steppes of Central Asia. Led by their powerful ruler Khan Asparuh, they were searching for a new home. Their journey was long and fraught with peril. They crossed mighty rivers and vast plains, their gaze fixed westward. They were a force of nature, disciplined and united under their leader. Their destination was the land south of the great Danube River, a region that was, at the time, under the control of the powerful Eastern Roman Empire, which we now call Byzantium. Khan Asparuh was a brilliant strategist. He saw the potential in this new land. The local Slavic tribes who already lived there were numerous, but lacked a central authority to unite them. Asparuh understood that strength lay not just in conquest, but in alliance. He formed a pact with the Slavs. The Bulgars would provide the military leadership and organization, the backbone of a new state. In return, the Slavs would join them to defend their shared lands against outside threats, most notably the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Emperor, Constantine IV, could not ignore this new presence on his northern border. In the year 680, he led a massive army and navy to crush the newcomers. He intended to drive them back across the Danube and re-establish Byzantine authority. But the landscape itself became an ally to Asparuh. The marshy delta of the river was treacherous terrain for the heavily armored Byzantine soldiers. The Bulgars, with their swift cavalry tactics, lured the imperial army into a trap. The result was a stunning and decisive victory for Khan Asparuh. The mighty Byzantine army was defeated and forced into a humiliating retreat. This victory was the moment of birth. In 681, the defeated Byzantine Empire was forced to sign a peace treaty. This was no ordinary agreement. The treaty officially recognized the new state that Asparuh and his people had established. After the empire was set up, the rulers who came after Asparuh started a long and big plan to grow it. The early leaders were amazing at leading armies. Rulers like Crum the Fearsome became famous. They pushed the empire's borders in all directions. They grew north across the Danube, west into the middle of the Balkan area, and south, always challenging the Byzantine border. The Bulgarian army was very strong. Its heavy horse soldiers were feared everywhere. These wins brought new lands, new people, and lots of riches into the growing empire. But the empire was built on more than just military strength. A special culture began to grow, mixing the ways of the Bulgars and the Slavs. Over time, these two groups slowly joined into one people. The main city of Pliska, and later Preslav, became lively centers of this new way of life. A very important moment in this cultural growth happened in the 9th century when Khan Boris I was in charge. He made a choice that would change his people's future forever. He decided to make Christianity the official religion. This was a very smart political move. It brought Bulgaria into the group of Christian nations in Europe, giving it more respect and importance. But Boris went even further. He wanted his people to pray and read holy books in their own language, not in Greek or Latin. He welcomed the followers of Saint Cyril and Methodius, who had made a new way of writing for the Slavic languages, the Glagolitic alphabet. This led to one of the most important achievements in world history. In Bulgaria, this writing system was improved and made simpler into what we now call the Cyrillic alphabet. For centuries, the history of the First Bulgarian Empire was intertwined with its powerful southern neighbor, the Byzantine Empire. Their relationship was a complex dance of war, diplomacy, and trade. They were rivals, two great powers competing for control of the Balkans. The Byzantines, who saw themselves as the rightful heirs of the Roman Empire, viewed the Bulgarians as upstart barbarians. The Bulgarians, proud and fiercely independent, saw themselves as equals, a mighty kingdom with its own divine destiny. One of the most dramatic chapters in this long struggle occurred during the reign of Khan Krum in the early 9th century. In 811, the Byzantine Emperor Nicephorus I gathered a colossal army to invade Bulgaria and destroy it once and for all. He marched into the heart of the country, sacking the capital city of Pliska. But Krum was a cunning warrior. He blocked the mountain passes, trapping the entire Byzantine army as it tried to march home. In the ensuing Battle of Varbitsa Pass, the Byzantine force was annihilated. The Emperor Nicephorus himself was slain. The tables turned completely under the reign of Tsar Simeon the Great, who ruled from 893 to 927. This period is known as the Golden Age of the First Bulgarian Empire. Simeon was a brilliant ruler, educated in the grand city of Constantinople. He had a vision of not just competing with Byzantium, but replacing it. He dreamed of a united Bulgarian and Byzantine Empire under his own crown. He took the title of Tsar, the Slavic equivalent of emperor. His armies launched a series of stunningly successful campaigns, repeatedly defeating the Byzantines and expanding Bulgarian territory to its greatest extent, stretching from the Black Sea to the Adriatic and Aegean seas. Under Simeon, the capital was moved to the magnificent city of Preslav, which was built to rival Constantinople in its splendor. It was called the Great Preslav, a city of golden-roofed churches, marble palaces, and thriving centers of learning. But this constant warfare took a heavy toll. Simeon's ambition may have been the empire's greatest strength, but it also sowed the seeds of its exhaustion. The wars were incredibly expensive and drained the state's resources. While Bulgaria reached the zenith of its power under his rule, the relentless conflict left the empire stretched thin and vulnerable, setting the stage for a difficult future. After the glorious reign of Simeon the Great, a slow and painful decline began. The decades of constant warfare with the Byzantine Empire had exhausted the country. The treasury was empty, and the army was weary. Simeon's successors lacked his vision and his military genius. The empire began to suffer from internal divisions. Powerful nobles, known as boyars, grew more independent and challenged the authority of the central government. This internal weakness made Bulgaria a tempting target for its many enemies, not just the Byzantines, but also newly arriving peoples like the Magyars and the Pechenegs who launched raids from the north. The Byzantine Empire, meanwhile, was experiencing a resurgence of its own. Under a series of capable and ruthless military emperors, they began to systematically push back. The struggle reached its brutal climax under the Byzantine Emperor Basil II. He was a man utterly dedicated to a single goal: the complete and total destruction of the Bulgarian state. He earned the grim nickname Basil the Bulgar Slayer for his relentless and cruel campaigns, which lasted for decades. The war was one of attrition, grinding down the Bulgarian spirit and strength year after year. The final devastating blow came in 1014 at the Battle of Kleidion, also known as the Battle of Belasitsa. The Bulgarian army, under the command of the valiant Tsar Samuil, was decisively defeated. What Basil II did next became an act of legendary cruelty, designed to break the will of the Bulgarian people forever. He captured around 15,000 Bulgarian soldiers. He had them all blinded, leaving just one man in every 100 with a single eye to lead the others home. When Tsar Samuil saw his once proud army returning to him as a procession of broken, blind men, it is said that he died of a heart attack. This horrific event shattered the last remnants of Bulgarian resistance. Within 4 years, by 1018, the entire territory of the First Bulgarian Empire had been conquered and absorbed into the Byzantine Empire. The sun had finally set on this once mighty kingdom. For nearly 2 centuries, the name of Bulgaria would disappear from the map of Europe. It seemed as if the legacy of Asparuh, Krum, and Simeon had been extinguished forever. But the spirit of a people is not so easily destroyed. The memory of their golden age lived on, a flickering ember waiting for the right moment to be fanned back into a roaring flame. For almost 170 years, Bulgaria was under Byzantine rule. The Bulgarian nobility was largely removed from power, and the independent Bulgarian church was placed under the authority of the Greek patriarch in Constantinople. The Byzantines imposed heavy taxes, which caused great hardship and resentment among the population. Yet the memory of the past glory was never forgotten. Stories of the great Tsars and the powerful empire were passed down from generation to generation. Several uprisings occurred during this long period of occupation, but they were all brutally suppressed. The desire for freedom, however, simmered just beneath the surface, waiting for the right leaders to emerge. That moment arrived in 1185. Two brothers from the city of Tarnovo, named Arsene and Peter, stepped onto the stage of history. They were nobles, boyars who were deeply unhappy with Byzantine rule and a new tax that had been levied upon the population. They were charismatic and bold leaders. They tapped into the widespread discontent and declared a rebellion against the Byzantine Empire. To inspire the people, they built a new church dedicated to St. Demetrius of Thessaloniki, claiming the saint had abandoned the Byzantines and would now fight for the Bulgarian cause. This powerful religious message helped to rally the people to their side with great fervor. The timing of their uprising was perfect. The Byzantine Empire was in a state of internal decay, weakened by court intrigues, dynastic struggles, and threats from all sides. The emperor, Isaac II Angelos, was unable to muster the strength and focus needed to crush the rebellion effectively. The revolt, which began in Tarnovo, quickly spread throughout the northern Bulgarian lands. The brothers, Arsene and Peter, proved to be skilled military commanders. They used guerrilla tactics, taking advantage of the mountainous terrain of the Balkans to ambush and outmaneuver the larger, more conventional Byzantine armies sent against them. After a series of successful campaigns, the brothers achieved their goal. The Byzantine emperor was forced to recognize their authority, and in 1187, a peace treaty was signed. This treaty effectively acknowledged the restoration of the Bulgarian state. The Second Bulgarian Empire was born, with its magnificent capital established at Tarnovgrad, or Veliko Tarnovo, a city protected by a formidable fortress on the Tsarevets hill. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes of defeat, Bulgaria was once again an independent kingdom. The Second Bulgarian Empire quickly re-established itself as a major power in the Balkans. The Asen dynasty produced a line of remarkable rulers. The youngest of the three founding brothers, Kaloyan, proved to be one of the most formidable. He was a shrewd diplomat and a brilliant military commander, often called Kaloyan, the Roman slayer, in a direct echo of Basil the Bulgar slayer. His greatest challenge and opportunity came in 1204, when the Knights of the Fourth Crusade, instead of going to the Holy Land, shockingly captured and sacked the Byzantine capital of Constantinople. They established their own state, the Latin Empire. The Crusader Knights, filled with arrogance after their stunning victory, demanded that Kaloyan submit to their authority. He refused. In 1205, near the city of Adrianople, Kaloyan's army confronted the supposedly invincible Latin Knights. Using clever tactics reminiscent of his ancestors, Kaloyan's light Cuman cavalry lured the heavily armored knights into a chase, breaking their formation and leading them into a well-prepared ambush. The result was a catastrophic defeat for the Crusaders. Their emperor, Baldwin I, was captured and taken as a prisoner to the Bulgarian capital of Tarnovo, where he later died. This victory sent shockwaves across Europe and announced that Bulgaria was once again a force to be reckoned with. The Second Empire reached its political and territorial peak under Tsar Ivan Asen II, who ruled from 1218 to 1241. He was a wise and diplomatic ruler who preferred to expand his empire through clever alliances and royal marriages rather than constant warfare. Under his rule, Bulgaria once again stretched across three seas: the Black Sea, the Adriatic Sea, and the Aegean Sea. This was a period of peace, stability, and great economic prosperity. Trade flourished, and the capital, Veliko Tarnovo, became a major political, economic, and cultural hub in southeastern Europe, often described by contemporaries as a second Constantinople. However, just like the First Empire, this period of greatness was followed by a gradual decline. After the death of Ivan Asen II, the empire was beset by a series of weak rulers, internal conflicts among the nobility, and devastating foreign invasions. The Mongols of the Golden Horde swept in from the north, forcing Bulgaria to pay tribute. At the same time, the restored Byzantine Empire and the rising Kingdom of Serbia chipped away at its territories. The centralized power of the Tsar weakened, and the country began to fracture into smaller, semi-independent feudal states. The Second Empire, once so powerful, was becoming increasingly vulnerable to the new threat that was emerging from the south, the Ottoman Turks. The two Bulgarian empires left a huge and really important mark, not just for Bulgaria, but for all of Europe. Maybe their biggest gift is the Cyrillic alphabet. By helping the students of St. Cyril and Methodius, and by growing the writing schools of Preslav and Ohrid, the First Bulgarian Empire became the birthplace of Slavic writing. This helped save and spread a written language for millions of people. It let the Slavic people create their own special religious and cultural identity, separate from the Greek and Latin-speaking worlds. The alphabet you see used today in Russia, Ukraine, Serbia, and of course Bulgaria, came directly from the writing made in the courts of the Bulgarian kings. Religion was super important to the empire's culture. When Boris I decided to become Christian, it brought Bulgaria into the main part of Europe. But his strong belief in having its own church, a Bulgarian patriarch, was a really smart move. This gave the country a strong feeling of togetherness and spiritual freedom. The churches and monasteries built during both empires were places not just for faith, but also for art, learning and writing. The amazing paintings in the Bojana Church near Sofia, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, show a lively and expressive art style that was like an early version of the Italian Renaissance. These were bright spots of culture that kept learning alive during dark and tough times. The empire's political and military successes also left a lasting mark. For hundreds of years, Bulgaria was one of Europe's big powers. It acted as a major political and cultural balance to the Byzantine Empire, creating a shifting power balance in the area. The Bulgarian state built a complex legal and management system, and its military strength was respected and feared by its neighbors. The empires created a strong sense of national identity and a historical story of freedom and greatness. This memory of a grand past would become a very important source of inspiration for the Bulgarian people during the many years of Ottoman rule that came later. You can see this legacy today in the very land of Bulgaria. The amazing ruins of the old capitals of Pliska and Preslav tell a story of royal power and big dreams. The strong fortress of Saravets in Veliko Tarnovo stands as a proud symbol of the nation's comeback in the Middle Ages. These old sites are not just for tourists. They are special places that connect modern Bulgaria with its empire past. The stories of the First and Second Bulgarian empires are more than just tales from a distant past. They are epic chronicles of what a people can achieve through unity, vision, and sheer force of will. From a band of steppe horsemen crossing the Danube to the rulers of a vast empire stretching across 3 seas, their journey is a testament to the power of ambition and adaptation. They show us that history is not just made by the largest and most famous civilizations. In the shadow of giants like Rome and Byzantium, other powers can rise, shine brightly, and change the world in profound and lasting ways. Their story is a crucial piece of the European puzzle. These empires matter because they forged an identity that has endured for over a millennium. By creating a unique synthesis of Bulgar, Slav, and Christian traditions, they built a nation with a deep sense of its own history and culture. The creation and dissemination of the Cyrillic script was a world-changing event, empowering millions of people with the gift of literacy in their own tongue. This act alone secures Bulgaria's place as a civilization of global importance. The empire's fierce defense of their independence against overwhelming odds provided a powerful narrative of resilience that would inspire future generations to fight for their freedom. Reflecting on their decline and fall also offers a timeless lesson. Both empires, at their peak, were weakened not only by external enemies, but by internal division. The struggles between the Tsar and the powerful nobles, the exhaustion from constant warfare, and the eventual fragmentation of central authority served as a warning. It shows that the greatest threat to a nation can often come from within. The story of their fall is a reminder that greatness is fragile and must be constantly nurtured by unity, wise leadership, and a shared sense of purpose. It is a lesson as relevant today as it was 1,000 years ago. So, as we conclude our journey, we see that the Bulgarian empires are not merely a subject for historians. Their echoes resonate through time. They live on in the language and letters of millions, in the faith and art of a nation, and in the spirit of a people who, after centuries of foreign rule, would rise again to reclaim their place in the world. The story of the Bulgarian Tsars is an inspiring saga of resilience. It teaches us that even when an empire falls, its legacy can endure, its light can continue to shine, and its story can continue to inspire all who hear it. The Lion of Bulgaria may have slept, but it never lost its heart.